State LTD Studio. 105.7 The Hawk, classic rock for the Jersey Shore. Welcome to the Gateway Toyota Coaches Corner, powered by Gateway Toyota, Route 37 East in Toms River. Get it all at Gateway. Kevin Williams, Ed Sarluca, and Bob Batters talk Shore Conference High School football on the Shore Sports Network. 105.7 The Hawk and 105.7thehawk.com.
And a very good Wednesday evening on the 29th of August. This is the season premiere of the Gateway Toyota Coaches Corner, and we are broadcasting tonight live from the showroom at Gateway Toyota on Route 37 East in Toms River. Kevin, Ed, and Bob. And yes, I understand it's been 95 degrees out, and the last thing you might be thinking about is high school football, but believe it or not, the season kicks off tomorrow night. A few games on Friday as well, as week 0 has arrived, and of course then everyone really gets into action next weekend. But we're going to start things off tonight here at Gateway Toyota. We'll put a little wrap on the 2017 season, which ended a little more about 8 months or so ago. We'll take a look at some of the new coaches around the Shore Conference. Our preseason top 10, which Bob released earlier today, some of the preseason all-shore players. And we are delighted that in just a little bit we'll be joined by Dave Ryden, the athletic director at Marlboro High School, and really one of the proponents and architects of a brand-new playoff system that is going into effect this season, which Dave doesn't have enough time to explain it to Ed. Ed will be going home with Dave tonight and on the car ride back maybe by the time he arrives. But it is a little bit confusing even for those of us who follow football, and Dave is going to try and at least simplify it a little bit for us and talk about the motivation behind the change and what the goal certainly is with this, because it is something you're going to hear about a lot, especially as this season goes on. Our plans, by the way, we're on every Wednesday night from 7 to 8 o'clock. Delighted to kick it off here tonight, and we'll probably wrap it up in December when it'll be about 80 degrees cooler. But on an alternating basis, starting next week, on Wednesdays, we'll be at the Office Restaurant and Lounge in Toms River and River Rock Restaurant and Marina Bar in Brick. That'll be our two host locations this year. So next week we're at the Office, and then River Rock after that. And, of course, in future shows, we'll have players and coaches and all of that on it. I'm going to say good evening, and I'll start with the elder statesman of this trio.
Bob?
That would be the coach, Ed Sarluca, and we've never done anything this early, and here we are in August.
First of all, I compliment you for going to my two old hangouts. When I was coaching, it was the Office Lounge, which we would be doing shows from, and then took that up to the River Rock up in Brick when I moved up, which was the Riviera
Peterson's
Inn.
Riviera Inn.
Right.
You're going back about 8 names there.
Yeah, that's nice that you that we are there. They've treated us well up there for the last few years, and we're happy to go back there. But anyway, yeah, it's a very strange feeling. There's no kids in school locally, in Monmouth or Ocean County yet until September. Next Tuesday and Wednesday they start. So some of these players, 4 or 5 games this weekend, are going to be playing without picking up a book. In the classroom.
Well, there'll be some teachers who tell you that will continue throughout the fall.
That'll continue till December, exactly. But, I'm looking forward to it. It's always interesting, to see who steps up and who's going to be good. And because right now, we know a couple teams are going to be real good. But other than that,
Well, I was going to say, I think Bob will agree with me. Unlike the NFL or college football, it is – outside of the few guarantees, which there are every year, predicting high school football is really a challenge. I mean, there are 43 football playing schools in the Shore Conference. Certainly, Bob will try, but he didn't get to all 43 in the last couple weeks, about half of them, between him and Matt Manley and all the previews that are on shoresportsnetwork.com. But it's a different thing. You have an idea of the returning players, but it's really kind of I'm interested when we talk about your preseason top 10. I'm going to take a shot and say that probably 7 or maybe 8 of those will be there at the end of the year, but the order can be completely mixed. And, of course, we have a new Shore Conference realignment this year, which we'll talk about. So I almost feel like going into this year, more so than maybe in the past, there is that unknown element.
Certainly. And first of all, it's hard to believe we're already here. Football season started again. But sure enough, here we are. And you're right. there are the teams that everyone expects to be good, and generally they are good. And as you said, there's always that one team, at least, that isn't ranked and goes on to be really good. It was Jackson a couple years ago. It was Long Branch last year, going from unranked to the Shore's only state champion. So there's a lot of uncertainty. Everybody is excited about the season, and rightfully so at this time of year. So, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of questions we all have, and we got 3 months to answer them all.
Pretty interesting also, Bob and Kevin, that possibly the two best teams in the Shore at the beginning of the season and then maybe at the end of the season are playing each other on Friday night.
Yeah, you don't see that too often. That you really don't even get that 1 versus 2 matchup every year.
Every year, exactly.
We're going to get it in week 0, and again, those two teams and maybe a third could meet down the line in the state playoffs. But that's always fun. Who doesn't want to see the top teams playing each other? So there's a good chance we're going to see that. We're definitely going to see it once. May see it a few more times.
I know who the teams. I don't think they like playing each other week 0. I don't think.
Let me ask you this, by the way. Those two teams are Red Bank Catholic and St. John Vianney,
right,
who will play Friday night at St. John Vianney. How does a game like that come about? That's a week 0 matchup. Obviously, both schools had to agree to it.
Non-conference game.
Non-division game, certainly. And, I don't know the specifics behind that individual game, but, that's a rivalry, certainly, in all sports, and it's become more of a rivalry in football, over the last few years. And, that was the marquee game, really, of last season, certainly during the regular season. And here it is, week 0. So right away, we jump into the fire with, a huge game.
And give them both credit for playing that game. It would be easy not to, especially in week 0. But you could also make the case that the team that does lose has plenty of time to come back and get themselves back in a position to have a very, very good season. You lose that game in week 7 or 8, it's a little more difficult.
And that was last year when they met in week 7, and St. John Vianney had the big win, 35-17. RBC lost their running back, Zach Baird, an injury, and that kind of, that one season went this way, one went the other way. And you're right, in week 0, no matter what happens, no matter which team wins or loses, that is not going to define anyone's season, especially since it's a non-division game. It doesn't even have any kind of division championship implications, but still, it's going to be fun.
And don't forget, St. John Vianney goes into the game with a 38-game winning streak against Shore opponents. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, there's a lot of storylines certainly surrounding the game.
And they are one of the 5 schools that have new coaches this fall. And, before we jump into that, Bob, I just want to go back a little bit and close the door on last season. You mentioned at the top Long Branch, talking about Long Branch, they were the only team to win a state championship last year, which I think even 8 months later is still shocking to us.
Disappointing.
We thought we had a chance to have 5, maybe sweep 6. I mean, so if you were putting a grade on last season for Shore Conference football, and it's not just the end but the whole season, what might it be?
I mean, you're right. We did only have one, sectional champion, and when you have about 6 or 7 teams playing for championships, which I believe it was, that's not it's not a good average there. But it's hard to say that the season, was anything, close to a failure. Maybe
no, definitely not.
A C+, B- if you want to get if you want to be generous, because we did have a lot of teams make it to the championship weekend. We only had one win it, and that was a Shore Conference versus Shore Conference matchup. So the detractors from outside the Shore will probably point to that and say, but you know what? That's some years you have that, some years you don't. The year prior we had 4 state champions. So that's the way it goes.
I think it was something like 26 or 27 teams made the playoffs last year.
We did. We had a boatload of teams in the playoffs.
That's a great number, but unfortunately, the only state championship, Long Branch, beat another Shore school in Freehold in it. Probably the game of the year.
Yeah, it was a classic for sure.
And by the way, St. John Vianney did finish last season as our number 1 ranked team, going 10-1 and losing in the semifinals of their non-public playoff matchup. But also last season was a record-breaking year. We had some incredible individual performances, and I remember us sitting here last December when we were talking to one young man by the name of Ashante Worthy, and all 3 of us believing he put numbers up that might likely never get broken in our lifetime.
Yeah, I mean, it's just what he did was mind-boggling. And the way I like to look at it that kind of makes me chuckle is Rumson's Peter Lucas ran for about 2,200 yards and about 35 touchdowns. And he had the 3rd highest rushing total in the Shore.
And nobody heard of him.
Yeah. It's like, what? What do you have to do? If somebody would have told you, hey, you're going to have these kind of numbers, you're like, man, It's the best in the state. Now, Worthy goes for about 2,800. Mayfield around 2,800 as well. So it was a crazy year. You're right. I don't want to say never, because we've seen records get broken year after year in the Shore, but to have another year like that collectively, we have that many players. I don't know. That's a special one.
How about the fact that our number one team, St. John Vianney, loses their head coach, Derek Sinitsky, and our number one coach of the year, Matt Salento, he leaves also at Point Pleasant Borough. So pretty odd that one of the two top programs both lose their head coaches.
Different reasons, of course. So let's just
nobody
touch
really
on,
knows the reasons, right?
Well, it's personnel matter. Let's touch on just real quickly those 5 new coaches who are not necessarily new, but in new places. And we'll go in alphabetical order at Colts Neck. Matt Ahern is in, right?
Yes.
He's the new coach, and he's a familiar face.
He is. Matt's been around the Shore for a long time. He's an RBC graduate. Graduated in '96, and then right after he was done at college at Siena, he went right back to RBC, and was an assistant there for the better part of 2 decades under Frank Edgerly and Jim Portella. So now he gets a shot at his first head coaching job over at Colts Neck. He has Jim Portella now over there with him as his
that's even more shocking than anything. I think that Jim Portella is an assistant under Coach Ahern.
Well, helping one of his guys.
I know. I didn't think he'd get back into it this quick. What, 2 years?
Sometimes guys like to get back in, but they don't want to deal with the whole head coaching thing.
So
you go in, you run a defense, and you go home.
Ahern replaces Darian Barnes at Colts Neck. Then you go to Keyport. Andy Karlstrom is in. Jay Graham is out. Andy Karlstrom's been a head coach with success in the Shore.
He has. Andy's had stops at Holmdel and St. John Vianney. And now he comes to Keyport. Andy's been, out of the Shore coaching-wise since 2013. That was his last year at St. John Vianney. And now, again, he's over at Keyport. Keyport on the 3rd coach in 5 seasons. So, obviously, trying to, get someone to stick there, after the Hall of Famer Mike Ciccatelli retired. So, Andy, again, he's been around the Shore. His son plays at Shore Regional, is one of their standout running backs. Andy's a Henry Hudson graduate, so it's a homecoming of sorts with Henry Hudson having the co-op with Keyport. So, I know I was texting him earlier today. I had a question, and he's excited to be back. He was certainly expressing how pumped he is to get the season going.
At Point Pleasant Beach, John Wagner, the gentlemanly John Wagner, has stepped down as the head coach. Frank Papalia, formerly the head coach at Holmdel, takes over for him. By the way, Wagner doesn't leave coaching. He's now an assistant coach at Rumson with Jerry Schulte.
Saw him scouting. I was saying, John, what are you doing here? And he said, I'm helping out Coach Schulte up at Rumson.
Saw him running drills the other day when I was up at Rumson. Different sight to see, but he's a legendary coach, so obviously they love him up there at Rumson. And for Point Beach, it really is the start of a new era. You can't deny what Wagner did there. 7 seasons of unprecedented success, the state championship at a school that was really, suffering through 1-9, 2-8, 3-7 seasons for a very long time. So the culture has changed there. Those kids now, they expect to contend every year. They were in the state final last year. And Frank Papalia comes in after being an assistant at Rumson for 4 years. I know it's from talking to Frank, from the time he was the head coach at Holmdel under Andy Karlstrom, so more parallels there. But he was just talking about how much he learned, how much different of a coach he is now. And I know he's excited not only to be a head coach again, but to be over at Point Beach. He's excited about the community and the kids and how they've been taking on this challenge. And they have to replace a lot of new starters, but I know he's excited to get it going.
I think it's good that Point Beach doesn't play 0 week because most of those kids are still on the beach.
Yeah, you're not kidding. We touched on briefly Point Pleasant Borough. Matt Salento, our coach of the year last year after just 2 years, basically steps down. He's got a lot of young kids, time to spend a little more time with the family. Brian Staub, his offensive coordinator, they stay in the program, maintain a lot of consistency. He's elevated to head job, his first.
Yes, and that's a great situation over there at Point Borough because staff continuity is so important, as I'm sure you can attest to, Ed. And the only change they really have over there is Salento stepping down. Staub goes from the offensive coordinator to the head coach. Shane O'Connor is now defensive coordinator, and Dave Drew comes up from the freshman level, and everyone else is the same. So I remember just from being there at camp and talking to the kids, it's a change, but it's like nothing really changed at all for them. And that's big because they're replacing a lot of starters. It's not something else they have to worry about. There's no new schemes, a new voice to listen to. To a degree there is, but they're able to hit the ground running and really try to get back and get back to another sectional final.
Won't be anybody more intense than Brian Staub on the sidelines. Some coaches may match him, but nobody's as intense as he is.
And certainly of the 5 coaching moves, the headline one was at St. John Vianney because the program has been so successful. We mentioned that the Lancers were the number 1 team, or our number 1 team last year in the Shore Sports Network top 10. Derek Sininsky, who had a great record there, is out. Joe Martucci, now that's not a new name for sure. Joe Martucci, of course, long run at Matawan High School, most recently an assistant coach at Kane University, comes in and takes over that program. And indeed, that is the headline move of this offseason.
Yeah, certainly a big splash there. And Martucci, the head coach for 28 seasons at Matawan. He's a Matawan alum. He was the athletic director there for a time. 197 wins. While the head coach of the Huskies, he's their all-time head coaching, leader. He's a Hall of Famer, both in the Shore Conference and at the state level. 5 sectional championships, I believe, he won there at Matawan. So yeah, you're talking about a guy that has been around the Shore for a long time and done a lot of winning. And he brought pretty much his entire staff that he had when he was at Matawan over there with him. I know Sam Turner back coaching the line, Charlie Rogers, Jay Bellamy. So a lot of the guys that if you've been on to a Matawan game, a lot of the same faces. So, yeah, they're over there, and obviously they're trying to keep it going. They have a 38-game winning streak, and no one wants to be the one to lose a game there. They want to keep it going.
So those are the 5 off-season coaching moves. 5 of the 43 schools changed coaches, probably about average for a year around the Shore Conference. When we come back, we're going to take a quick break here. When we come back from this timeout, we're going to delve into the new state football playoff plan, the Shore Conference realignment, how those things work together. Dave Ryden, the athletic director at Marlboro High School, joins us right after this. You're listening to the Gateway Toyota Coaches Corner on 105.7 The Hawk.
105.7 The Hawk. Free beer and hot wings morning show.
We're discussing the theoretical future and the melding of technology, microchips, and humans. And Joe had this important question.
How rich do you have to be right now to take those pills with little robots that fight illnesses in your body? Is that a real thing?
That seems like that would have been the first sentence before you asked the cost.
I don't know if nanobots are commonplace at this point.
Paige?
See, to me it seems super plausible because I already have something implanted in my arm for birth control, so putting a computer chip in that wouldn't be that hard.
Oh, you've got one of those little robots that
slow
kills
release.
sperm.
Yeah.
You've got a robot goalie.
It swallows it all for you.
If you have mean thoughts, do you see it move under your skin like a scarab?
If I cut you, do you goof?
Wake up with a free beer and hot wings morning show. Weekdays 5 to 10. Classic rock for the Jersey Shore. 105.7 The Hawk and 105.7thehawk.com.
36-month lease with approved credit through TFS Camry 6,567 or RAV4 6,027 due at signing. $0 security deposit. Excludes tax tag title 419 fee. 10K miles per year. Ends 8/31/2018.
Get it all at Gateway Toyota.
It's Toyota's national clearance event at Gateway Toyota. Drive new 2018 Camry LE or RAV4 LE. Your choice, only $99 a month.
Get it all at Gateway Toyota.
Toms River GatewayToyota.com.
You're a football fan, and sometimes you want to watch the games with your friends and other fans. The Office Restaurant and Lounge loves football and invites you to watch all the games in their 28 HD TVs and take advantage of their awesome $6 football menu. On Thursday and Sunday, buy a 22-ounce mug for $4 and get refills of Miller Lite or Coors Light for just $2. Enjoy football with your friends at Tom's River's Place to meet and eat for 42 years. The Office Restaurant and Lounge at the intersection of Route 37 and Main Street.
It's the final days of the Ford Summer Sales Event. The last chance to find an incredible deal on the cars, trucks, and SUVs that make summer go right. Simply stop by a local Ford dealer or shop online at buyfordnow.com. Because the time to get behind the wheel of a new Ford during the Ford Summer Sales Event ends soon. And so do these amazing offers.
This is gonna be the best day of my life.
The Ford Summer Sales Event is in its final days. That means it's the last chance to make summer go right with Ford, America's best-selling brand. Stop by your local Ford dealer and find great offers on many Ford cars, trucks, and SUVs. With leading driver assist technologies, it's easy to see why Ford is the brand more drivers buy and buy again. Look for yourself. But hurry, the Ford Summer Sales Event ends September 4th, 2018. To find out more, head to buyfordnow.com or stop by your local Ford dealer. Best-selling claim based on 2017 calendar year sales.
You're listening to the Gateway Toyota Coaches Corner. Classic rock for the Jersey Shore. 105.7 The Hawk and 105.7thehawk.com.
And we are live from the beautiful showroom at Gateway Toyota, Route 37 East in Toms River. Kevin Williams, Ed Sarluka, Bob Batters talking Shore Conference High School football right here on 105.7 The Hawk. We'll be here every Wednesday throughout the upcoming football season. Of course, don't forget, The Hawk is your radio home for New York Jets football all season long as well. Well, there's a big change this year throughout the state of New Jersey when it comes to the NJSIAA playoffs. The long-debated change finally going into effect this year for this season. As I said, Dave Ryden is the athletic director at Marlboro High School, also part of the Shore Conference Executive Board, and he was very much involved. He was one of the 10 or 12 athletic directors on the committee that sort of put this whole thing together. Also, Rich Carroll from Middletown South was part of that, and Middletown South coach Steve Antonucci was one of the 10 or 11 coaches involved in this. And I say, first of all, we say to Dave, thank you very much. I know final days of summer and a lot of time you want to spend with your family, for taking the trip down here, but maybe you can give us a brief overview of how this came about, what led to it, and then we could sort of get into the specifics of the plan itself.
Sure. First of all, it's great to be here. This is excellent and a great way to get this out, especially with it being so groundbreaking and different, as it normally has been. But basically, what happened was the playoff system a year ago was working. The PowerPoint system is what was broken. The teams were just being by their wins and their group size, and that was kind of the whole thing that stemmed off how this all came about. There's a group from North Jersey that presented a proposal at a football. The NJSA has a leagues and conference football committee that they formed, which is basically all the football conferences around the state. We all have representation there. We were at a meeting, and there were two athletic directors that came forth with a football plan to change the playoffs. And frankly, we didn't like it. Rich Carroll and I are the two representatives on that board, and we didn't like what they were doing. We felt that the Shore Conference, the West Jersey Football League, the GMC, we were kind of being shut out a little bit from that proposal. So Rich and I basically sat down and said, all right, who can we get that we can form a better plan with? So if you look at the coalition plan, that's who we kind of came up with. The coalition is made up of athletic directors from around the state without the Super 100 football conference, because they're the ones that came up with their own proposal. So then they came up with their proposal. We came up with our proposal. We didn't want to fight. That's the biggest thing is nothing is going to get accomplished if North Jersey and South Jersey are fighting all the time. So I met with Dan Vivino and Dennis Nelson, two North Jersey football guys, ADs, and I basically said, guys, listen, let's sit in the room and let's try to hash this out. And basically the NJSA said the same thing. We couldn't come to an agreement. So basically what happened is they had their plan, we had our plan. It went to the December vote with all the athletic directors, and again, uncharted, it both passed. So now we're kind of like, okay, what's going to happen now if this continues? So basically we met again. And we sat in a room and said, all right, listen, we have got to fix this. We have got to make this work for the entire state. So we basically made this whole committee, got the football coaching, the football coaches involved with it as well. We wanted their input. We didn't. This is football coaches are it's their baby. Football's their life, and I get that. I was a football coach for a long time at Spotswood and up in Boonton, and it's. We didn't want to leave them out. So we basically got with John Fiore, John Jacobs, all the representatives of their executive committee. We went up to Rutgers, sat in the Hale Center, and we basically hashed all this out on how we can make this a better system. And this is basically the fruits of our labor right here. I mean, this is basically almost 2 years of work, thousands of hours of man hours to put together, and really it's the first time where you have the entire state of New Jersey kind of all on the same page. Yes, there's a lot of questions, and yes, there's a lot of unknowns that are going to happen. It forced the Shore Conference into realignment, which I think is actually for the better. There's just a lot of unknowns right now, but a lot of things that we know are going to make it better. And that's kind of where we're at right now. And I cannot wait to see how this whole season comes out.
Okay. Let's sort of tie that in with the Shore Conference realignment, because I think with the football playoff plan, I don't know that anyone outside of a handful of people know it all. I would imagine most coaches don't even know every nook and cranny of it. They'll find out along the way. And clearly it's a little bit of a work in progress just to understand it all. It's education, which is partly why you're here tonight. Right. But I don't know that everyone is also aware that the Shore Conference realignment was done with this in mind. It is two separate, but there's really a unified reason for that.
Yes. Basically what happened, the Shore Conference has traditionally done their realignment every 2 years. We base it off of group size. And it was that was it. We never took competition involved. We never took strength of schedule. We never took strength of program involved with that. It was basically sheer numbers. I mean, back when I started, we had the old Patriot, Freedom, all those divisions, and you had a team. I mean, I remember my first year coaching. I mean, my first 4 games of the season were Toms River North, Jackson Memorial, Manalapan, and by week 4, we were like, this is crazy. The teams we're playing right now.
We being Marlboro High School.
Yes, Marlboro High School. So basically, what had happened and how this all kind of came about was part of the realignment with the group size went with how the PowerPoint system worked. There was very distinct, especially now with the Super 100 having a multiplier where you would get playing a team of a Don Bosco or a St. Peter's Prep, you would get a multiplier. So there were times last year that a team lost
and gained,
but gained more points than the team they beat. Yeah. Well, clearly that is a broken system. Yeah. So we looked at different systems. I contacted one system that does an algorithm that puts forth a ranking that goes with a bunch of different factors in it. They would not do what we wanted them to do. The first and foremost, we did not want differential of score to be involved.
You don't want to encourage running up the score.
We don't want to go backwards. Right now we have a 35-point mercy rule. We did not want to go backwards and have teams going, beating teams by 80 and 90 points, because that does nothing for anyone. So we wanted to find a system that would work. So that's where we went with the Born Power Index. Mr. Bourne is from Summit. He basically said, what do you want? I will make my program work for you. So this is where the realignment comes in. We had to look at strength of program because, traditionally Marlboro, we have had a 3-win season, 3-4-win season, but we were playing against a Manalapan that would have a 10-12-win season. Manalapan playing Marlboro would not bring their strength of program up. And Marlboro playing Manalapan, if we beat them, it would. So what we had to do is we had to go to a more competitive, more strength of schedule even across the board. So basically what we did was we basically took everyone's group size, went 3 years of data, and took 3 years of their wins, multiplied it by their group size, and you get a number. Did that for school 1 down to school 43 and ranked everyone 1 through 43. Then we went and looked and said there were some discrepancies. I'll give you an example. Toms River East. Toms River East, for the past 3 years, they got 8 points. But they were thrown into a group 4. They were group 4, but they were in with group 2s and 1s.
Right.
So we couldn't have them there because we in the Shore traditionally have a plus or minus 2 group size. So we had to move them. So it kind of tweaked its way out, and we looked at the schools like that and moved them to where they should be within their divisions, which then throws into the competitive balance. It makes it a little bit even. Now, for a traditional Shore Conference person, this looks very different, and the rivalries might not be there. The traditional matchups, the old Thanksgiving matchups, might not be there anymore. But what we did was we gave every athletic director in every school an opportunity to pick up another school. So they were able to go out, and if they had a team that they traditionally played all the time, they were able to go out and find that team.
One game?
One game.
Okay.
One game.
For instance, Brick Memorial.
Yes.
South North. East.
Yeah, the Toms Rivers wanted to
The
stay at Toms Rivers.
Inner town rivalries.
What we did was, where I was placed, if you look at my schedule personally, I have no Freehold regional schools on my schedule.
Right.
So I asked Colts Next AD, I said, hey, listen, we played to an overtime game last year. It was 27-20.
Even team.
It was a very even game. We're probably going to be even again this year. Let's do this, and let's ask the Shore Conference to schedule us. We have a document. We filled it out, sent it in, and our scheduler put us on the schedule. And then that's what we kind of did with the crossovers as well. We tried to maintain a balance. Now, what we're doing that is completely different, and the entire state is looking to the Shore Conference to see how we do this, is we're rescheduling and realigning every year. This is first. So what we're going to do is we're going to take 3 years ago, those numbers will then go out. This year's numbers will go in, regular season will go in, and then we'll recalculate the numbers, realign, and then tweak where we have to tweak, and then have another realignment. So I won't necessarily play the same teams I'm playing. I'll probably play one or two similar, but I'm not going to have the same schedule. Now everyone's like, well, what are you doing home and away? Well, we're trying to guarantee everyone gets 4 home games, 4 away games. The Shore Conference is scheduling 8 games because when you see the playoff proposal, it's every game now counts, which is now a great thing. And I'll explain that a little bit later when we go through the United plan. But that's kind of how the schedules came about within the Shore. So people did, I know you were talking about RBC and St. John Vianney for week 0. Week 0 was not scheduled by the Shore Conference. That was up to those 2 schools. So they put it week 0.
Mutually.
Yeah, mutually agreed upon that, and they could do that.
Is it safe to say, and we've got to move on because is it safe to say the main goal in the Shore Conference realignment is 2? 1 would be to put teams in a better position with the playoffs, hopefully, and 2, to maintain a more competitive balance. Because one of the things that I respect is the fact that you and Rich Carroll come from almost a different football background. He's an athletic director in a district that has a perennial power in Middletown South and a very good school in Middletown North. Right. Yours has not been that. But the hope is that this allows you to be more competitive. You may not be playing every year for a state championship, but you, and I say you, Marlboro, you're not alone in that.
Right, no.
Schools like that get to be more competitive during the regular season. Their goals maybe not as lofty, and yet the school like in Middletown South can still pursue their dream of a state championship.
If you look throughout the state, there are teams that are losing programs because they don't have the participation numbers that they had. Whereas, Marlboro right now, we have a very strong freshman team. We have a lot of numbers that way, and we have numbers to maintain throughout our program. What I'm looking at from a personal standpoint and from my school standpoint is I want competitive games every week. I don't want my kids walking into a game going, there's no way we're going to win this. And that shouldn't happen in high school. You should go in going, we have a chance. And that's kind of what we're doing. Our goal for some of the schools in the Shore Conference is to not make the playoffs, which is why when you go to the algorithm and the new Born Power Index, we could, there are schools that can go 8-0 and not make the playoffs because they're not playing the schools. They're playing a competitive school to them. And then what will happen is if that school goes 8-0, now next year they'll have 8 wins. They might be losing 3, and now they move up. They can move up a division.
All right, we got to take a quick break. We're already chasing time here, so let's take a quick break. We'll come back. We'll try and get at least a few questions with Dave about the new state playoff specifically. Right after this, you're listening to the Gateway Toyota Coaches Corner on 105.7 The Hawk.
105.7 The Hawk. Classic rock for the Jersey Shore wraps up the summer of 2018 with the essential classic rock Labor Day A to Z weekend. While you enjoy the long Labor Day weekend, our labor of love will be playing the songs that define classic rock. The rock anthems, the must-haves, the killer classics lined up in alphabetical order. All you have to do is listen. 105.7 The Hawk's Essential Classic Rock A to Z weekend kicks off Friday morning at 10. Classic rock for the Jersey Shore. 105.7 The Hawk and 105.7thehawk.com.
At Simple Mobile, you get the no contract advantage. Unlimited talk and text plus 3 gigabytes of high-speed data for $25 a month with no mystery fees and no activation fees ever. Just $25 a month on a lightning-fast 4G LTE nationwide network and no contract. That's our best deal ever. Buy yours now at nationwide retailers like Best Buy or at Simple Mobile dealers. Simple Mobile, out with the old, in with the simple.
A month equals 30 days. Limited time offer ends 9/30/18. Please refer always to the latest terms and conditions of service at simplemobile.com.
36-month lease with approved credit through TFS Camry 6,567 or RAV4 6,027 due at signing. $0 security deposit. Excludes tax, tag, title, 419 fee. 10K miles per year. Ends 8/31/2018.
Get it all at Gateway Toyota.
It's Toyota's national clearance event at Gateway Toyota. Drive new 2018 Camry LE or RAV4 LE. Your choice, only $99 a month.
Get it all at Gateway Toyota.
Toms River GatewayToyota.com.
You're a football fan, and sometimes you want to watch the games with your friends and other fans. The Office Restaurant and Lounge loves football and invites you to watch all the games in their 28 HD TVs and take advantage of their awesome $6 football menu. On Thursday and Sunday, buy a 22-ounce mug for $4 and get refills of Miller Lite or Coors Light for just $2. Enjoy football with your friends at Tom's River's Place to meet and eat for 42 years. The Office Restaurant and Lounge at the intersection of Route 37 and Main Street.
Paying more for paint doesn't make it better paint. It just makes it more expensive. The Home Depot carries some of the highest quality paint brands in America, but you'd never know it by the price. Like top-rated Behr Premium Plus, starting at only $26.98 a gallon. Look around. You can always find a higher price, but you won't find better paint. Quality paint, lower price, now with 100% satisfaction guarantee. Only at the Home Depot. More saving, more doing. U.S. only. See store for details.
Now back to the Gateway Toyota Coaches Corner, powered by Gateway Toyota, Route 37 East in Toms River. Get it all at Gateway. Classic rock for the Jersey Shore. 105.7 The Hawk and 105.7thehawk.com.
Live from the showroom of Gateway Toyota in Toms River. It's the season premiere of the Gateway Toyota Coaches Corner. By the way, Friday night, our first Jersey Mike's Game of the Week broadcast on our sister station, 92.7 FM. It will be Brick Memorial at Central. That's a 7 o'clock kickoff. We'll talk more about that later. Joined by Dave Rodden, the athletic director at Marlboro High School, and one of the architects of a brand new playoff formula going into effect this season.
We might need a brand new show called The Riding Hour to unpack all of this stuff. But, you know, as you talked about with the realignment within the Shore and having to deal with the overall new playoff format. Now, with the playoff format, things obviously are different in the way that the brackets are constructed.
Correct.
You're taking the best 30, for example, in Group 3, we'll say, it's the best 32 teams, and then you go the North, the South, and you split it up there. I mean, explain to us how we're going to get to the traditional brackets that everyone knows. Central Jersey Group 3, South Jersey Group 3, and so on.
Okay, so basically what's happening now is that football no longer has a section. So the traditional North 1, North 2, Central, South is no longer going to be like that. Everything's going to go week 1 through 8. We're not the Born Power Index, the power ranking will be released starting week 3 because that's when everything kind of works. The numbers work itself out. Coaches will be able to predict where they're going to be by week 8 when you see it. But after week 8, you'll be split into they'll take the top 16 teams, split them into 2 groups, a north and a south.
The top 16 or 32? You mean?
It's top 32 right, split into north and south, 16 and 16.
Okay.
No, it's. Yeah, that's right. I'm sorry.
You confused yourself. I feel so much better.
Yeah. So it's split into the 16 teams. It is then by your northing number, which is a geographical number, which I know we tried to figure out before the show. It's basically a geographical number that is assigned to you, and it just shows you where you are located in the state. We will split it north and south. Playoffs will then start week 9. Sectional finals will be done before Thanksgiving, which is a very different feel the way it is now. So basically the first round of playoffs will be the first weekend in November. Second week will be second week. Third week is sectional finals. So the section's done. Then we have Thanksgiving. We did not want to touch the sanctity of Thanksgiving. The Middletown North, Middletown South that rivalry playing on Thanksgiving Day is great. Phillipsburg, Easton, we didn't want to touch that. There's throughout the entire state of New Jersey, there's big Thanksgiving.
Millville and all
so we didn't want to touch that. Then what we did was we added an additional game to the end of the season. So after that Thanksgiving Day game, there's now called the Bowl Series. It is going to be presented by a orthopedic group,
Rothman Institute.
Orthopedic. Yep. They have what we're doing this year is we're going to name it North. It's going to be the North Bowl games, and then the Central South Bowl games. Eventually, what we're planning on doing and what we really want to do is we're going to compile names and we're going to name these bowl games after specific coaches in the state.
Which is cool, yeah.
Yeah,
great. I love that idea.
Yes.
Yeah, and then eventually there's one sentence in the Constitution that needs to be removed in the NJSA Constitution that says football cannot play to an overall state champion. We'd like to eventually get that removed and then play one additional week where you have an actual New Jersey state overall champion in football.
Let me just ask you two quickies, and I'm sure Ed's got something he wants to jump in. Number one, to get to that ultimate championship game, will you eliminate Thanksgiving, or Thanksgiving stays no matter what?
We are doing our best to never touch the Thanksgiving.
Okay.
You know what I mean? We don't the Thanksgiving Day game with high school football is very special to some towns and to some areas, and we know that. And being ADs and being football coaches, we get that. So we don't want to touch that. So we actually looked at the dates going out like 7 years, and it all works out perfectly.
Okay, and I think it's safe to say, again, the biggest change to me is you're going to take Group 1, all the Group 1 schools in New Jersey, regardless of geography, the top 32 are going to earn a postseason spot.
Yes.
Right? And then it'll break 6.
And then it breaks
all the Group 2. It doesn't matter. There could be 20 South or Central Jersey teams and 12 North Jersey teams. It's going to be the top 32. The idea is the 32 best teams, because ultimately, when you have state champions, the geography shouldn't matter. It should. If the two best teams in Group 1 are from South Jersey and they play in a ultimate championship game, that's the way it should be.
Right. And our philosophy was, if a state like Texas can do it, New Jersey can do it.
And that was going to be my other question. How much have you guys looked at other states? Obviously, Texas is a giant state and a big example, but even Pennsylvania, which is right next door to us, where they play down to their, they're 3A, 4A, 5A champs. They have their Thanksgiving, and they're able to do this.
Here's the difference with those states is they start football a lot earlier than we do here. You guys were talking that kids haven't even picked up a book yet. We're playing a football game tomorrow. Mm-hmm. That is a very big thing that we need to look at. So it's going to be difficult, and we don't want to push the winter season. Mm-hmm. So we have a very specific timeline in which we can fit all these games in. So we're trying not to add all these games, but we're also trying not to back up the season so we're playing in August. But that's the biggest difference is a team, schools like Texas and Pennsylvania and California and these big, huge states that play down, they start football. I mean, they play spring football. They're playing in the summer, and they start in August, which we don't.
All of the sectional championship games will be played at the higher seed, which is a radical concept, and one that we have been calling for many years.
I love it.
And all of the super sectionals will be played at MetLife.
Yep.
Okay. I think that's one of the better.
I do too.
Yeah.
Better things in the whole system.
I mean, that's we really tried to save that as well. There's certain things that the football coaches wanted that we tried to maintain. One, I don't want to use the word meaningless games, because there's no kid in New Jersey that plays a meaningless football game. Mm-hmm. But there are games that don't count. The football coaches wanted all 8 games to count. So every game you play counts. So at the end, when you figure out the power ranking, it's going to be divided by the number of games you play. So if you could play 7, 8, or 9, it's up to you. I mean,
here's one thing I can tell you for sure. We're going to have you back during the year when we get closer to playoff
Probably
time.
week 8. Probably after week 8.
I would love to come back. After
we'll make sure we feed you.
Yeah, I'll see what I'll see. I cannot wait. I've been chomping at the bit for this football season to start.
Sure.
Especially with there's some negativity around the state. There's some negativity in the shore.
There's a lot of negativity,
and it's uncharted. You know what I mean? I met with some football coaches in the spring when we first came out with this, and I said, guys, this is before this program, the plan was set forth. I mean, guys, relax. We're doing the best that we can, and we'll help. And the beauty of what we did in the Shore is we could change it.
Yeah, you've not locked yourself in. I think that's great.
The other thing is, and I know we're not going to discuss it now, but how will the teams who don't make the playoffs get those additional games? What's involved there? I don't even want you to get into that because that's a whole nother ballgame.
I mean, it's basically the regional crossover games again. It's going to be assigned by the NJSIAA. We tried to basically do a in the original plan, it was the athletic directors can actually go out and pick up their own games if they wanted to.
Yeah.
So I've already set up a game against Barnegat.
Oh, you did?
I did that already for week 10, and then I was told by the NJSIAA that I'm not allowed to do
you're
that.
Not allowed. Okay.
So, I mean, there are certain things that we're still fighting back and forth with, but it's I believe that this is a step in the right direction, and I think that this is going to be a great thing for high school football in New Jersey.
Well, I would say this. I know people feel differently. You and Rich Carroll especially should be applauded because, again, this was a volunteer program. You put a lot of time and effort into it, hopefully for the betterment of football, not only in the Shore but the state of New Jersey. We'll find out certainly in a few months how things play out. Dave,
Absolutely.
I can't thank you enough. I know you came down with your wife and your 2 young daughters. We really appreciate it. And
no problem.
Back at school. You're back at school, but it's all back at school next week.
Yep.
Dave Ryden, the athletic director at Marlboro High School. We'll take one more break. We'll be back after this. You're listening to the Gateway Toyota Coaches Corner on 105.7 The Hawk.
105.7 The Hawk. Classic rock for the Jersey Shore.
Where you going?
That's a good question.
Now you can fly with a Hawk everywhere you go. Put us right on your home screen. The new 105.7 The Hawk app gives you everything you need with just a tap.
It's a very powerful device.
Listen live, get traffic and weather updates, interact with Hawk personalities, and see what's happening at the Jersey Shore. Plus,
as long as we're in the business of investing in high-tech ideas,
the new 105.7 The Hawk app is free. It's just a quick download to your smartphone or tablet from the App Store or Google Play.
You'll take it and like it.
This app rocks. Download it today.
Come on, hurry it up. We've got places to go.
The new 105.7 The Hawk app from Classic Rock for the Jersey Shore. 105.7 The Hawk and 105.7thehawk.com.
You're a football fan, and sometimes you want to watch the games with your friends and other fans. The Office Restaurant and Lounge loves football and invites you to watch all the games in their 28 HD TVs and take advantage of their awesome $6 football menu. On Thursday and Sunday, buy a 22-ounce mug for $4 and get refills of Miller Lite or Coors Light for just $2. Enjoy football with your friends at Tom Zivers Place to meet and eat for 42 years. The Office Restaurant and Lounge at the intersection of Route 37 and Main Street.
Back to School 101 from Staples. Today's lesson, modern dance. Staples has everything for back to school at low prices. So when your son finds the Gotta Have It backpack he's been wanting at a Gotta Have It price you've been wanting, you'll both break out your happy dance. Now a 2-pack of Staples 5-inch scissors, a 12-pack of Crayola-colored pencils, and a 10-pack of Crayola markers are just 97 cents each. Available at Staples, the back-to-school specialty store.
While supplies last. Ends 9/1/18. In-store only. Limit 30 on Crayola, 5 on scissors.
36-month lease with approved credit through TFS. Camry 6,567 or RAV4 6,027 due at signing. $0 security deposit. Excludes tax. Tag title 419.fee. 10K miles per year. Ends 8/31/2018.
Get it all at Gateway Toyota.
It's Toyota's national clearance event at Gateway Toyota. Drive new 2018 Camry LE or RAV4 LE. Your choice. Only $99 a month.
Get it all at Gateway Toyota.
Tom's River GatewayToyota.com.
Imagining a better bank starts with looking at the savings rates most banks offer and saying, really? Capital One is building something better. You can open a Capital One savings account with one of the nation's best savings rates from anywhere, like here, or here, or here. One of the nation's best savings rates. Opened online, at a Capital One location, or from anywhere. That's banking reimagined. What's in your wallet?
For consumers only. Offered by Capital One N.A. member FDIC. Copyright 2018 Capital One.
105.7 The Hawk, WCHR-FM Manahawkin, an ultimate classic rock radio station. More classic rock for the Jersey Shore. Next, 105.7 The Hawk. You're listening to the Gateway Toyota Coaches Corner. Classic rock for the Jersey Shore. 105.7 The Hawk and 105.7thehawk.com.
And that classic rock coming up after we're done in, probably about 8 or 9 minutes, somewhere in that ballpark. Kevin Williams, Bob Batters, Ed Sarluka from Gateway Toyota, the host of the Coach's Corner. We're delighted that Rick Cardwell and his group is back as our sponsor all football season long. A reminder that next Wednesday night we will be at the Office Restaurant and Lounge in Toms River, one of our 2 host locations, along with River Rock in Brick. Also Friday night, of course, our Jersey Mike's Game of the Week on our sister station 92.7 FM and ShoreSportsNetwork.com is Central hosting Brick Memorial. And by the way, just a quick plug, ShoreSportsNetwork.com. You'll get previews within the next couple of days. All 43 will be up. How many are left?
We're getting there. Finish line. I know I have 8 myself, and Matt's still got a couple. We packed this into a couple weeks, but we get there.
It was an equitable distribution. Of the 43, I did 2. We had a couple of other guys did a few, and then Bob Batters and Matt Manley did the rest. And, of course, also on the website today, you'll find out Bob's preseason Shore Conference all-shore team, which is really interesting, a great read, and I can't wait to save that and compare it to the end of the season. And, Bob, we'll just go real quick right now into your preseason top 10. You know, we had talked, you and I, several times during the summer, and I don't think there's any surprise. Red Bank Catholic, St. John Vianney, 1-2, meeting in week 0 on Friday night at St. John Vianney. But clearly those were your top 2 teams. Once you started doing your work, getting ready, you had no doubts those were going to be 1 and 2, right?
Not at all. You know, Red Bank Catholic, we'll start with the Casies. They are the number 1 team. You know, they bring back such a talented group, led by Boston College-bound quarterback Steve Lubisher, a senior. They have 6'5", 230-pound junior tight end Kevin Bauman, who's committed to Notre Dame. They really are loaded. Jaden Key, Charlie Gordonier, Steve Similewski, John Columbia, Billy Guidetti stepping in at running back, who, is looking to have a good year. Tommy Smith on the line. I really can go on and on.
Could.
They got a lot of dudes coming back, so they were a no-brainer. St. John Vianney has a 38-game winning streak. They were the number 1 team last year. Most years you would retain that, but given what RBC has back, even though Vianney beat them last year, and even more so, St. John Vianney is, they graduated about 10 starters, from defense, I believe. Almost everyone on the offensive side. They do bring back, some standout linemen in Rutgers-bound C.J. Hansen and first-team all-shore lineman Paul Lucino, but there's a lot to replace there. And there's talent there. There certainly is, but it's unproven. They got a transfer from Central, Kayvon Chambers at running back. Also, C.J. Duell, transfer from St. Joe's Prep in Philly. So, again, there's guys there, but, I think that might take some time to come together. So, again, talented, but unproven.
Next group of schools, Modern Day Prep, Brick, and Long Branch. Long Branch, a defending state champion.
Well, Brick, probably the best of Ocean County in a probable weak, county this year, would you say?
Yes. I mean, I think, and we'll get down the line to another team that from Ocean County that have in the top 10, but, yeah, if you look at it, most of the top-end teams are in Monmouth County this year. It's a bigger county,
more schools.
We don't have there are years we've had a Brick Memorial, even a Jackson, and a Toms River. A Lacey too. Last year we had Point Borough. Right now, we may have it at the end of the season. Right now, on paper at least, we don't have it. But Modern Day, I'll touch on real quick because they're the number 3 team. Again, they bring back a lot of very good players. 2 Boston College-bound players, Isaiah Henderson on the defensive line, Sheeta Salah at linebacker. They got a transfer from Camden Catholic, Rob McCoy Jr., who was a 1,600-yard passer. Isaiah Noguera, Sincere Saunders, Malik Ingram, 1,200 yards rushing last year. So, yeah, they're loaded up again. And then after I was looking at those, even before I put the top 10 together last night and this morning, a lot of good public schools in the Shore. There really is a lot of them. And I started with Brick. The Dragons decimated by injury last season, but still found a way to get to the playoffs and get to the semifinals. They bring back 9 starters pretty much on both sides of the ball, and this is a very good senior class that has the look of a team.
They pointed to this year.
They certainly have.
I think, I saw them in a couple of scrimmages. Only 45 kids on Brick. 27 of them, I believe, are seniors.
Yeah.
Wow.
Huge senior class.
This is it for Brick. I mean, they've got to produce this year.
Yeah, and I was joking with Lenny Zadanis when I was over there. He ended up playing so many kids last year because of injuries. He has so much depth, and a lot of them are seniors now. He's like, I wish I could redshirt a couple kids because there's a lot of kids that may not get on the field a lot, but can be impact players. So, I mean, it's a good thing to have. certainly in this year when they aspire to win a championship.
Long Branch is 5, and real quick, because again we're fighting the clock here, and you can read this online. Rumson 6, Manalapan 7, Manasquan, Middletown North, and Jackson Memorial. That back end of the top 10 is always hard to figure out who to put in there, right?
It's always squirrely. Having seen Middletown North in person, first of all, I'll go to real quick on the teams. Long Branch, they bring a lot back, even though they graduate a lot. They're still going to be pretty good. Rumson, same thing. They have key places to replace on offense, but that defense is going to be ferocious, and they're there every year at this point. Manalapan, again, lost a lot of guys in the program. When you show up through practice and kids are wearing jersey number 115, you know numbers are not a problem, and there's certainly depth there. Manasquan, when I was over there, they really gave me the look of a vintage Manasquan team. I mean, there's no big FBS recruit kid like that, but there's a lot of really good players on that team on both sides of the ball, and I expect them to be very good. Middletown North, they bring back their quarterback, they bring back their receiver, they bring back a running back, and some other pieces around. They just missed out on the playoff spot last year, so they're going to be gunning for that. And Jackson, stopped by a scrimmage, saw them, and it was one of those years where you show up to Jackson, you go, whoa, where did all these 6'3", 260-pound kids come from? A lot of them are young, but still, the future looks bright for Jackson, and so does the present. I mean, they have 4 very good defensive players back, at least 4 of their top tacklers, and some other kids who look to make an impact. So I gave the Jags the nod at number 10.
How about the fact that St. John Vianney's got to play RBC week 0 week, and then week 1 they have to play Rumson. Yes. They could very easily be 0-2, or they could be 2-0.
Yeah, you're 2-0 coming out of that.
Yeah.
Unquestioned.
You're ranked in the state.
Sure, absolutely, a huge jump.
Bob, you listed a lot of teams in the teams to watch thing, but if I was going to ask you to name one that you would feel the most strongly of that batch that could be a top 10 team, who might that be?
I'm going to have to refresh my memory here for a second. But
you got a bunch there. But
there is a lot.
Middletown South has got a possibility, right? And Brick Memorial could be good this year. I mean, killer schedule.
I'll go.
Freehold Township.
Freehold Township, yes. I do. In fairness to Freehold Township, they had 8 wins last season. It was the first playoff win. In school history. I need to see more from them in terms of their schedule. They didn't have a great schedule last year. I'm telling you, Shore Regional is a team that had some injuries last year. They were a little young, 4-6. That's a proud program, which is always good. They have an excellent senior class, and I could really see them being back and contending for a title, even though they're in Group 2.
It all starts tomorrow. Pinelands at Modern Day Prep. Middletown South goes to Coatesville, Pennsylvania Thursday. Then Friday, the big one, RBC at St. John Vianney. The game will do Central hosting Brick Memorial. Lacey at Ocean at Long Branch heading to Hamilton.
I remember talking to Long Branch coaches. They were glad to have that game, but nobody wanted to travel. Hamilton didn't want to come up. Long Branch didn't want to come down. I guess Long Branch drew the short straw.
Guys, it always goes so fast. Special thanks, of course, to the folks here at Gateway Toyota. Also, our crack engineering staff, Tom Tremblay and Brad Burascano. Mark Anthony back at the studios. For Ed Sarluca, Bob Batters, I'm Kevin Williams. You've been listening to the season premiere of the Gateway Toyota Coach's Corner on 105.7 The Hawk. Good night, everyone.
The Gateway Toyota Coach's Corner on 105.7 The Hawk was powered by Gateway Toyota, Route 37 East in Toms River. Get it all at Gateway. Join us again next week. Get a complete look at Shore Conference football anytime. Log on to shoresportsnetwork.com.
Hey, it's Freebeer from the Freebeer and Hot Wings Show on 105.7 The Hawk, broadcast from the RE/MAX Real Estate LTD studio. RE/MAX Real Estate LTD is on call and ready to help you realize your new home dreams. Visit them online at myltdstore.com.